All righty then. So, if you read the title of the video, you kind of got an idea of what I'm about to get into. I'm going to do this without any of the bumper music, the pre-roll that I normally do on the videos. This isn't going to be a fancy video. I just want to have a coffee shop talk with you guys, my brother and sister realtors, and maybe bring some balance to the force. There's a lot of stuff going on, guys, on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, social media channels. Agents, I think, as a rule, and it's not 100% their fault, there's just so much misinformation, are struggling with this whole buyer's broker agency agreement they need to sign, how they're going to deal with buyers now that the buyers potentially might be on the hook for paying their agents. How do you communicate with them, right? There's a lot of agents that are troubled by this. And most of the agents that are troubled by this have a different thinking on what this truly is. It's an opportunity, guys, for you to not only educate your client, but for you guys to be able to continue doing what you do, and that's work with buyers without the stress. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you my buyer's broker agency agreement. I vetted this with my local broker, and I created this to bring and remove the fear out of the buyer having to hire me and be concerned about, oh, do I have to bring a bunch of money to the table, right? I'm going to show you mine. You're welcome to rip me off. If you like it, use it. Let me say this. My agreement in removing the fear and stress from the buyer and bringing value to them does put the emphasis on me to negotiate for my fees, which is what we should be doing with this new agreement. Let me say uncategorically, I am absolutely against what's happening right now. I think that we should not have had this happen to us, and I think that our covering should have fought like heck. But here's where we are. It's unfortunate that some attorneys got together and did all of this and created a scenario where now people look at us as, greedy money grubbers. It's a shame. But guys, this is where we're at. So how do you elevate yourself above the fray? How do you make it look like you are the go-to buyer's agent? How do you create the scenario and actually show up with the goods where buyers are like, you know what, that makes sense. I'm going to work with you. Well, I got you. Stay tuned. We're going to hit this thing. I'm going to show you what I'm doing. But let's talk about, before I show you my exclusive buyer brokerage agreement, let me share with you 3 scenarios that you need to educate your buyers on. And this, if you're on TikTok, oh my God, this is like all over TikTok. The disinformation is crazy. I posted a video yesterday on my TikTok. Basically, it said, do you have to pay your buyer's agent? No, is what I said. And you would not believe the amount of just idiocracy, the comments on there about how bad agents are. And oh my God, right? It's just absolutely crazy right now. So in all of that, in that field of just stupidity and that stew of mierda, right? Poo-poo, we got to rise above. So here we are. If you have a buyer, or if you're having a discussion, let's say you put this content on your social media channels, think about this. There are 3 options for a buyer right now. Option 1, hire an attorney. Hire an attorney to create a contract. So the buyer wants to buy 1, 2, 3 Granite Bay. They go to attorney. The attorney drafts the contract. This is perfectly normal. This is okay. Attorney drafts it. Attorney puts all the language. Asks the buyer what they want to offer, how much deposit, how much EMD, all of the stuff that an agent would need to know before submitting an as is. And then the attorney drafts the contract, and the buyer then takes the contract to the listing agent and submits it. Now, unfortunately, and we've seen attorneys charge anywhere from $300 to $900 to do this. Unfortunately, if they submit the contract and the seller counters the contract or refuses it or says, nope, then that buyer is out the $300 to $900, and they might have to go back to the attorney and make some amendments, which the attorney will do for additional fees. Now, what the attorney is not going to do, and this is something you need to educate your buyers, they're not going to negotiate for you. They're not going to pull up comps. They're not going to protect you as a buyer to make sure you're not overbuying. And the attorney definitely is not going to get out of his car and go open up doors. The attorney is not going to negotiate on an inspection report that you need help with, especially if there's issues. They're not going to give you advice on how to cancel the contract within a grace period. The attorney is not going to share with you how to go about addressing a possible appraisal issue, right? All of that a buyer's agent does. So you need to be able to communicate that, but let your buyer know you're more than welcome to use an attorney. But here are the positives, but here are the negatives. Number two, you can go directly, Mr. Buyer, to the listing agent. They will more than be glad to help you. As a matter of fact, they can even open up the home to you without a buyer's agency agreement. In most cases, check with your broker, check with your MLS, check with your state. But from what I'm being told, the listing agent can open up the home. The buyer can walk through the home, and the listing agent doesn't need an agreement. The buyer wants to ask the listing agent specifics. How much is the home priced? How much this can you? That's when the listing agent will have to say, okay, well, here's what we're going to need to do. If you're interested, please sign this agreement, right? So now the listing agent becomes the buyer's agent. Dual, they are transactional. And so now if the buyer wants to move forward, they now have to sign the agreement they would sign with their buyer's agent. They're now signing with the listing agent. Well, you need to inform your buyer. Who does that listing agent represent? Statistically and legally, if they're a transactional, they should be representing both sides. But guys, if it's a listing agent and they listed that home for the seller, you kind of think that one through, and you need to be able to tell your buyer without disinforming them with wrong information that that listing agent had a first relationship with the seller. There's very little he can do in terms of the negotiation. So that's why it's good to have a buyer's agent on your behalf, because at the end of the day, if you go to the listing agent, you're going to have to sign an agreement with them. More than likely, the listing agent is going to have some type of compensation. And if the seller says no, you're now bound to that agent on that home. And the only way to move forward is to pay the listing agent at closing. Same type of scenario. The third one, hire a buyer's agent. Have the buyer's agent work for you on your behalf. Handle negotiation, handle inspection deals, handle appraisal issues, get you all the way to the closing table, helping you to potentially look at comps so that you don't make too high of an offer, and stand with you as your representative. Now, having said all of that, those are the three scenarios that you can explain to your buyers that they have before them. Make sure that you are not overemphasizing that you're so awesome that the other two suck. Give them the ability to understand the positives and negatives on all three. And then share with them, if they want to work with you, here's how my buyer's agency works. Now, I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to show you mine. Please don't comment below that, oh my God, I hate that. I would never give away that kind of money. Blah. I don't want to hear it. Just go somewhere else. This is for you agents that are looking at the long-term play. And guys, this agreement removes the stress from my buyer and puts the onus on me as the ninja to negotiate for my fees. So without further ado, let us look at this. So this is a buyer's broker agreement for the state of Florida. And so as you can see, and I need to put my ninja glasses on, as you can see, the consumer would be the buyer. So your buyer is going to sign up here. And guys, please check with your broker and your state rules. I'm in Florida. You might be somewhere else. And I want you to understand this is a generic understanding of the buyer's broker agreement. Please make sure you're compliant with your state's rules. All right, I put my name here, Epic Realty, Kelly Wheeler. Down here, type of property, I put residential real estate because I don't really do commercial, but if I did, it would say commercial. If I did both, I would say residential and commercial. Whatever you want to put, it protects you. Location, I put Florida. Why do I put Florida? And I also misspelled Florida. So I'm glad I'm doing this in front of you. Again, I told you it was raw. Oh, it isn't. That's just the font. So it is Florida. Cool beans. I'm not going to edit that out, guys, because this is as raw and uncensored as I can get. I put the location of Florida because I literally can sell anywhere in the state of Florida. And if I put like Claremont or Lake County, Florida, but they go over the Lake County line into Orlando and they want to move on a home in Orlando, I got to re-sign this whole document. I got to go through this whole thing again. So I'm putting the word Florida. Again, check with your broker to see what your rules and regs are, but I do that. Now, the next thing that I do is right here. On the retainer, on Florida's agreements, it offers you the ability to charge them a flat retainer. So if you want to charge them a retainer up front, kind of like an attorney does, where you're going to say, in order for us to start working together and me to go out there and start opening up doors, there's a non-refundable retainer of $100, irrespective of whether or not we close on the home. You're going to pay that up front. I don't do that. I don't want to have to try and sell them to pay me like an attorney. I want to get sold. I want to get paid the very same way that a personal injury attorney gets paid. If I absolutely perform and get the job done, I want to get paid. So I say no on that. And then right here is where I kind of start to paint the scenario. So on mine, I'm saying that I'm going to charge 2.5% as a buyer's agent plus $500. Now, that $500 happens to be a transaction fee that could be the highest point of what I have to pay on this deal, depending on the price of the home. Again, this is specific to my brokerage. So I just said a blanket 500. That gets paid no matter what. So all of that's going to be paid. And then on the bottom, I say see lines 13 for additional information. So guys, right now, before we go to line 13, the buyer could potentially be on the hook for 2.5% plus $500. That's where you guys are getting caught up on. It's like, oh my God, what if the seller says no and they want to move forward and they don't have the money? Well, this is why you're watching this video. Here, I'm stating that's what I want to make. But I also tell them to go to see line 13 for additional info. And the additional info is where we kind of get real serious with this offer. And guys, for protection, I make sure they understand that for 90 days, so if they work with me and we go look at 10 houses and then they fire me, if they move and make an offer and close on one of the homes that I showed them, this protects me for 90 days. So I am protected for 90 days for 3 months if they decide to fire me because they think they can go get it cheaper by going direct to the seller. All right. I do not charge a termination. Why would you want to charge them to terminate this buyer's agency? Right? You're not married to them. Don't have that in your agreement. If you want to do it, but I think it's dumb. This is how they're going to start to feel comfortable with you. You're protected by the 90 days, but don't charge them a termination fee. That's crazy. Would you want to be done that way? Then we come down here to line 13. And guys, this is where the rubber meets the road. Let me read it to you. Buyers agree to pay the buyer's agent, me, a minimum fee of $2,000 plus broker transaction fee of $500, payable at closing in the event that the seller does not pay compensation to the buyer's agent and the buyer decides to proceed with the purchase. So even though I said to the buyer, I'm going to go ahead and negotiate for 2.5%, I'm stating that up front. If the seller says absolutely not, and the buyer's like, oh, Kelly, but this is our dream home, then in this case, to move forward with me, they're going to pay $2,500, not $15,000. This way, I don't have to sit here and sell them on the possibility of paying me crazy money. Now, again, if you are a coach, a teacher, a mentor, if you're somebody out there teaching contrary, you can drop comments. I'm not going to delete it, but don't shout me down when I'm preaching. If you're an agent and this makes sense to you, comment below and let me know your thoughts. But guys, I'm not anticipating having to only make $2,500 on every single deal. Why? Because I know for a fact, because I negotiate well, I'm going to negotiate. I might have this happen 1 or 2 times out of 10. I'm fine with that because now I don't have to sit there with my buyer and create fear, intimidation, and possibly run them away to another agent or the listing agent or an attorney. I want them to feel comfortable. And I'm going to reiterate to them, there's other benefits they get with me. Guys, if they buy a home with me, I give them a love it or list it for free, an 18-month guarantee. If they buy a home and have to sell it in a year and a half, I'm not going to charge them to list it. That's absolute value. Also, on the rest of this, the other caveat is if the seller compensates Epic Realty 2.5%, then Kelly Wheeler, the buyer agent, will contribute 25% of his commission to the buyers at closing as a gift. So I always say on my YouTube videos to my local city, hey, work with me, get up to 25% of your of my agent's commission, my buyer's agent commission back towards you at closing. We've given away over $50,000 this year to our buyers, and we are extending that to you. They can still get that as long as I can negotiate with the seller to get the 2.5%. They're going to get that from me. Now, why would that buyer not want to work with me? Guys, are you excited yet? Is this making it more palatable for you? Or are you sitting there going, heck no, I would never do that? And I'm fine with that, guys. Go do you, be you. I'm sharing with you what I do to eliminate the stress. And guys, I'm over 6 figures this year by offering things like this, right? My buyers love me. They work with me and they refer me. So I am absolutely giving my buyer the ability to literally not have that dread or that fear. They understand when they work with me, There's a lot of benefits. If we can accomplish these things, they're actually going to come out ahead with me. And we're not going to just ask for 2.5 points. We're going to try to go in at 4 or 5% to the seller to give my buyer additional funds for closing. We're going to give it our best. And by the way, if you're going to use this and your fee is at 2.5%, don't go in with your offer to the seller at 2.5%. Go in higher, because you can always work backwards, but you can never go up. If they say, oh yeah, we'll give you the 2.5, understand too, in this instance, the $500 is going to be paid by that buyer no matter what. So if you're going to do this, make sure you ask for enough to cover the entire fee. So I would go in at 3.5 to 4%. So you've got, if they say yes, you're a hero to the buyer. But if they say no, we'll do 3%. Now you've not only covered the 500, but you've covered your 2.5, and you've got a little extra money to buffer you on the 25% that you're giving them as a gift. Make sense? All right, guys, that's it. Don't be afraid of this. It's what you say and do, how you give this information, your positivity. Hey guys, when you work with me, I know this is all confusing and this is all just frustrating, and let me bring some balance to the force. Let me share with you what we've done, what I have done to protect you as my buyers, right? And then go over this, go over the 3 options and say, if you want to work with me, here's my agreement. Here's what I put in place to protect you guys. Ooh, tried to get all that out as quick as I could. So guys, that's it. I just wanted you to not be afraid of this scenario, this buyer's agency agreement, how you're going to completely iterate to your client how you are the best choice in your city for them to work with as a buyer, and what makes you different. And guys, it will pay off in spades, and you get to be the hero, not the zero. You don't have to be the one that's going to force them into an agreement with you, and they have to bring 15 grand to the table. Guys, this is where you get to shine as a realtor. This is where your negotiation skills get to come out, and you get to go to war and fight for your client. That's how you need to see this, not the other way. The doom and gloom, the bull crap on TikTok, the agents on TikTok, people on Facebook, on Instagram, even on YouTube. Don't listen to that BS. Be you, but do this. All right. Check with your local broker, check with your local boards, make sure that this is all in compliance. And then again, you are welcome to take any of this. You can even pause this and write down my offers. Like I always say, rip me off if you're going to make some money. All right, guys, that's it on this one. More content coming at you in the next couple of days. Let me know what you thought about this. Hit the subscribe, hit the bell, stay with me on this journey, because I want to help you guys pursue the art of real estate in a way that you enrich yourself and your family. Stay with us, guys. Don't forget, tons of videos on this channel as well. We'll see you on the next video.